Tactical, focused, just like a top producer. Here's a sample from this week's Friday Focus on KGCI, Real Estate on Air.
7-figure success starts when you start thinking like a CEO. Welcome to the John Kitchens Coach Podcast Experience. This is your host, John Kitchens. Get ready to think bigger and transform your business into a path to lasting freedom. Man, I'm excited to really dive in today. We've got Eric, Mr. Eric Post with Huzi.AI in the house with us. And for those of you that were able to make it out to Cleveland for Agent to CEO, Cleveland, we had Eric in the house, shared the stage together, dropped some really amazing, kind of ideas and really unpacked what Huzi is. I think just not even really, you didn't even scratch the surface for what Huzi is capable of doing. And I immediately saw it because you look at kind of the evolution of kind of growing teams and growing real estate agents and just kind of that evolution when it comes to leverage and support. It was always, I got to go get that first hire, right? As an agent, I got to go make that key hire, that first hire. And you do everything to go get that person. And they were just a collect all, right? They did everything. And sometimes if they had a pulse and they had some experience, get them in here. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out together. It's better than, them to try to figure it out than me trying to do it all. And then that next evolution was, coming out of 2020 when the global workforce was unlocked. And that was then able to be like, I can get within my salary cap. I can go get 4 or 5 people that are talented to be able to help offset, the higher labor investment that I know I can make. I just can't quite make it. And now we're in that next evolution of where AI is creating that leverage. And that's what I saw immediately. And, so I started thinking, I was defaulted right back to Leanne. And I was like, we've gone through multiple VAs with her, not for her needing the help, but rather than needing the help on her time. And I was like, golly, 3 active kids. She's running here. She's running here. She might catch 30 minutes here. She needs to then connect and work. I'm like, this is perfect for her, right? Because it's on her time, her schedule to be able to work through and really create that assistant. And that's the first glimpse. That's what I saw. And then obviously being able to, get connected into a little bit deeper with you to see just even the capabilities of really what is possible and how critical it is to have that AI assistant, on your side and to help you create leverage moving into the future.
Yeah, man. I'm glad you saw it. That was honestly my least favorite presentation I've ever given on Huzi because it was so jammed into so many things. And I tried to do too much with too little time, to just be perfectly honest. And that's not something I've done too often before, but definitely was a victim of my own vibrato. Then I was like, let's get this, let's do this. And you fire hose too many things at people. But ultimately that was a great event. And the reason why I love that event so much is because you were talking about scale and growth. And there is no business that's worth doing unless you're focused on scalar growth. Because if you're not, your competitors are, or the market is, or your consumers are looking for scale and growth, or looking for new ways to be served. And so we have to stay in that vein. And I'm glad you saw that. So thanks for your vision. And now we're here, dude.
Yeah, we're here. So lead us up to, life before. I mean, you and I have some, we share some craziness for the endurance side of things. I mean, you've done some incredible things. I mean, at a super high competitive level on the endurance and ultra side of things. What's the push? I mean, what led you even into be like, there's something here. We've got an opportunity. Let's run with, take advantage of the AI craze, but also see it to be able to embrace it to where we're not, a .com bust, right? Or a .ai bust. We're something that's going to be here, that's really going to serve, that's really making a difference.
Yeah. The endurance thing and business, go hand in hand. And, nobody can grow a business bigger than themselves. And it's hard to grow yourself unless you're testing out who you are, in all the different ways. And so physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, intellectually, all the different ways that you push yourself. And I have been in that world quite a bit, as of you. And by the way, congratulations on your stuff. Like your 100-mile race. That's amazing. And, you get in those categories, and I see kind of two groups of people. You see the group of people who are trying to find out who they are. And so they kind of torture themselves to find out who the frick they are. But that's a little bit of a sadist sort of mentality for me. For me, and the other group of people that I see is like kind of finding out where they are. They know who they are, right? And they know what they're all about inside, but finding out where they are in their toughness or their stability or their focus or the preparation, or with their faith, how much can you get through, and you have to lean on something that's bigger than you. Those are the people that I'm really motivated by. And so in business, it's like, where are we as a society? And AI is just one of those things that, I had to grab that tiger by the tail and find out where we were. I got 2 kids that I'm trying to give good advice for and what to study in college, and didn't know where we were, and so just hopped on this train to find out exactly where the frick we were and where we're going.
Yeah.
And instead of like being a passenger, be at least a co-pilot.
Yeah.
In that venture. And if something's going to come into society or in the industry that I care so much about, then why not be able to put our fingerprints on it and help guide it instead of just.
Yeah. So I think, leading up into this spot, and let's hit on, the one question, right? And we're speaking to residential real estate agents primarily. I mean, obviously, these conversations benefit any business, but specifically speaking to the Honey Badger Nation and, the residential real estate agents, what's going to happen with this industry? I mean, do we have a timetable? Do we have an expiration? I mean, how does it, kind of lean in? We hear, AI is not going to replace you, but the agents using AI will. Like, what's the truth of really, the residential real estate agent, professional, business owner, marketer, salesman, selling homes to buyers, helping buyers and sellers, investors, builders, and AI? Like, what are you seeing as truth?
Okay. My truth, the bigger threat to the industry than an AI powered competitor is the AI powered consumer. And not enough people are really talking about that. And, we're in a knowledge-based service industry primarily, right? Mortgage, real estate, title, whatnot. And because of that, when you have an all-knowing AI model and the frontier models keep getting more and more powerful, it continues to challenge what the value is of knowledge in an industry. And now we all know knowledge and wisdom are 2 different things, but the AI powered consumer to me is the biggest threat. And it had been to the industry for the last 10 years or so. Steve Murray does those surveys every year. And for a long time, the biggest complaint about the industry from our consumer is the lack of communication. And, the agent put the sign in the yard, but I didn't hear back from them and whatnot.
Right.
And then at one point in time, it turned to, I actually felt like I knew more than my agent. Right. And was one of the biggest concerns. That was pre-AI. So now imagine, when everyone's got a ChatGPT or a Huzi or whatever Perplexity in their pocket, and they care about their life more than the agent does, and they're going to have access to a lot of wisdom, and a lot of really good guidance. It doesn't have the humanity and whatnot. And I'm actually pro people, to be very, very clear. I should start that off. I'm very pro people, very pro humanity. And AI to me is a tool that we should stand on the shoulders of instead of being replaced by. But that said, that's not what everybody's doing. And, buddy, if I was the CEO of Zillow, I would be paying every coach to teach AI automation. I would be, designing all these AI widgets and whatnot to let the agent just make themselves irrelevant right out of the transaction, right? And make themselves irrelevant one prompt to ChatGPT at a time. That's what I would be doing, like teaching AI automation. But real estate agents don't get paid more to automate their business. They get paid more when they improve the experience for the consumer. And so at Huzi, our philosophy is about using AI to make the experience better so your consumers brag about you and post about you, not create content for social media, right? Anybody can do that.
Yeah.
Right. So there's just a philosophical difference the way we're approaching AI and the implementation of the business, that it's supposed to be, alongside me or behind me, not in front of us, to automate our sales out of this business. And look at the industry, man. It had no problem giving up billions of dollars in commissions to Zillow and say, here's all our listings, do better job than us and get upstream of us and sell our listings back. Right. It was easy. We rolled over to them.
Yeah.
So the whole industry is doing the same exact thing for AI and be like, hey, make my job easier for me and automate this for me. And that's not the path, buddy.
No, I love what you said. It's so interesting. I was talking to one of our boardroom members yesterday, Monday. Joel and I were, and he was, doing, buyer seminars and seller seminars. And I I love for agents to do them because now they kind of create a marketing piece that they can run like a webinar, or they have a value add, or they talk to somebody. It says, hey, before we meet. So it's a pre-appointment video. There's multiple ways to leverage, doing a buyer or seller seminar. I mean, just the amount of content that can be pulled from it, marketing pieces, but now you have something, that can be out there playing for you while you're sleeping to be able to do it. And I said, just to your point, I was like, how could you teach the consumer to utilize AI to help their experience with you to be able to do that? So that's interesting that, you mentioned that. Is that something that Huzi is able to do as well for the consumer, or is Huzi right now just specifically designed for, the business owner or the individual using it for their business?
We just launched actually just this week. In fact, to our members, I'll start rolling it out tomorrow. But we have 3 basic legs of a stool, if you want to think about it that way. We have the tool set that is helping the user, in this case, the real estate agent, work in their business, right? Having an AI assistant that's connected with their contacts, can interface with their database, all of their documentation, connect to the internet. We've tuned and trained it for real estate specifically. So if you ask a question in Huzi or ask a question in ChatGPT, get a completely different answer. Just like if you were to ask a professional home inspection an opinion about a house versus the uncle that kind of knows some things about houses.
Yeah, that guy.
Same sort of vibe, right? So we've got that. That's locked down. That's killer. We're killing it. In fact, we just rolling out this week. So we have like DeepSeek and Gemini and Claude and everything also inside of that platform, because I want to help people start to reduce their tech stack bloat and reduce their username and passwords instead of having all these different username and passwords that people are starting to figure out. This is a cluster F. This isn't making my life easier. I've got too many tech tools now, right? So that's one. The other leg of the stool is the forward-facing, like working in the business. And so now we release these AI assistants. So it'll do things for our users like help schedule showings with chat interface, connect to your calendar, help schedule meetings, help capture leads and deliver information, customer service. You can embed them in your DMs on your Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. So it can get quick responses to anybody that's inquiring about your listings or inquiring about your services or whatnot. We're just launching this, man. It's killer. And so these are the front-facing sort of tool of AI employees that we knew that was necessary. It's taken us a bit to get there, but we're rolling that out this week. And then the third leg of the stool is in the you part, like we were talking about, like the personal development part. So like with coaches and like with yourself, getting access to wisdom, not AI knowledge, but wisdom and experience and expertise, and a community of people looking to do the same. I think all 3 of those things are really important. So that's what our ecosystem looks like.
Yeah, no, I love that, and being able to utilize it. You mentioned a couple of things in there that really kind of like blew me away, to the fact of going through documents, going through negotiations, going through, home inspection reports, being able to, ask Home Depot for the exact location tool. What's the price? Hey, we need to repaint. Okay, Sherwin-Williams, what's the exact paint color? What's the SKU number? What's the cost? I was like, okay. Okay. Yeah. Like there's nothing, if you can almost think it, then it can happen. And it's just a way of thinking, just thinking differently about how to expedite, how to scale, how to collapse time within the process.
Doing more of what matters is actually the name of the game here. And you follow the Pareto's principle and this 80-20 rule and whatnot. We know in real estate, it's more like 95-5, or 90-10. And a lot of our time is filled up with BS work, and a lot of the market is full of BS people, to be honest with you. Right. And it's the top dogs that are doing all the business. And I just want to point out right now, this is not a technology revolution. I am not a tech guy with a tech background, but I am creative. And this is absolutely a creativity revolution. And I think anybody can learn the skill of curiosity and resourcefulness. Yeah. And so if anybody's curious and has a bit of resourcefulness, AI is your friend. But if you come to conclusions about the way things are, or you have a fear-based mindset, then it will be your master. And that's just how it is. Already, man, there's like this website. There's a website called Payman. And so like Uber, you can actually log in as a human being, and AIs that are performing tasks for human beings will hire human beings to do things for them. So I would have an AI and I say, hey, I need to get this done, AI. But let's say the AI needs a thing delivered from point A to point B, and it doesn't have wheels or legs yet, but it can hire a person to say, hey, I'll pay you $50 to deliver this package from point A to point B. It pays them up, and the human does it, and the AI continues with their job. Right. So there's already systems out there as of today where people are getting hired by AI, paid by AI to perform tasks on behalf of the AI.
You know what's fascinating? Did you ever read The Future is Faster Than You Think?
I have not read that yet. I love him, and I've read a lot of stuff, but I have not read that yet. Yeah.
I think Kotler and I forget who the third of that, but that was the third book in the series. I think Abundance, and then there was another one, and then The Future is Faster Than You Think. The Future is Faster Than You Think came out, I believe, January of 20. Okay, so let's just put time frames into context. And they go in through industries and where things are going, but they open up the book with the ability to where you're going to start to see home ownership out into the rural areas, right? Because there's no need to be in the inner city, in that you can be in point A to point B in such a short period of time, to the point of they were like, listen, the Uber will come pick you up and it will take you to XYZ location. XYZ location, you will get into your flying car and you will go from one point to another point, or you'll be in a mass transit or on a the trains, what Elon's trying to build. And then you're either flying, and then you're the airport over to top of the building, and then you come out of the building. By the time you walk out, your Uber's already waiting for you. And they said how this will all be done, then you don't even have to talk to anybody. It'll just pull all of the directions out of your calendar, and your AI assistant will be in your calendar, and it'll coordinate all of this for you.
Yep.
And so just when you were saying that, made me think about that. Think about that story that they were talking about in that book. And it really is fascinating. And to see, obviously the pandemic collapsed time. So a lot of the things that they were talking about in there was going to be, decades, right? Which we know with the pandemic condensed it into, months of being able to, they were talking about, EXP was the only company that they talked about in there from a real estate perspective, and how they were disrupting, the entire game and the entire industry, which they have. They're talking about, the avatars, the holograms, Star Trek stuff that they were in there talking about. Like guys, this is closer than what anybody even remotely believes or thinks. And so just kind of what you were saying there, I was like, yep, it's happening.
But you can picture an exponential curve, right? You can see that, you can picture a hockey stick in your face, and most people judge the future by what's behind. And so if you're looking at that graph, if you're standing in the middle of the graph and you're kind of looking back, you can see the slope. But if you look this way, if people look forward, the slope, like, it's right here, right? Yeah. That thing is right here, right now. We have this thing called Moore's Law. They figured out in the 50s, when today's computer makes tomorrow's computer, and there's this exponential incline. And we're there now. I mean, buddy, the other day I was using OpenAI's operator model, and I'm invested in real estate and whatnot. So I gave it a task to go to Facebook Marketplace for me, log into my account, and go scour Facebook Marketplace for properties that fit my criteria. Create a Google spreadsheet. So I'd wake up in the morning and have on my Google spreadsheet the links to the property, the questions I should ask the owner, the criteria that it found out, and create messages that I could pre-send to the owner to help me prospect for leads. And I woke up and I had 25 opportunities on a spreadsheet for me, and I just had an AI do it, right? I didn't have my assistant do it. The other day I was testing on LinkedIn, because I've been trying to get back on LinkedIn a little bit and grow this company. And so, I have my AI once a day. I don't have a lot of time to go on LinkedIn, but I can have my AI go on my LinkedIn, read through AI articles, finds what are interesting, craft compelling responses, post on my behalf. And I wake up the next day and we got likes and comments and new follows on my LinkedIn, and my AI assistant did it for me. Didn't do it at all. Right.
Let's talk about that because when you look at specifically speaking to residential real estate agents, okay.
Yeah.
And you look at, I operate within the theory of constraints. It was, introduced from one of our mentors, Vern Harnish, when we were doing a lot of work with Vern and going through, this is before scaling. It was just mastering the Rockefeller habits, gazelles and going through there. And his number one book recommendation that he's like, listen, like number one book recommendation above all else is The Goal by Eli Goldratt. And it's told in fable format. So it gives into the manufacturing company. And then it parallels into his relationship with his wife and parallels into his relationship with his son. But it's all about the theory of constraints. And from that moment on, that's just how that's how my brain works on everything. Where is the constraint? And you look at business, and for a lot of people, it's always, strategy, tactics, and then talent. Well, 80+% of small business owners that I've dealt with and worked with over the last 20 years, it's always talent, right? Once you solve the talent, and this Jim Collins, right? It's the who. You solve the talent, then they can help you unlock the strategy and the tactics. Once you get down into from the tactical side of things, it's real simple. It's traffic, it's conversion, it's fulfillment, it's retention. 99%, like Eric, every room I go into, and I did it at Agent to CEO, I was like, how many of you in this room have a traffic problem? You need more demand. You need a better offer. I need more leads. 99 out of 100, their hands go up. The very few have a conversion problem. Most do not have a fulfillment problem, and especially at that level in that room, they don't have a fulfillment problem. And most of them are pretty good with the past client, raving fan, touch, retention type program. So it's always typically traffic. Where is, I mean, like you were just touching on it, and like this is like, even for me, this is my biggest constraint right now is traffic, demand. What's the best offer? Where is the real demand and desire in the marketplace? How can I utilize AI to help generate more opportunities? One, but also to follow up and nurture and touch, because we know most salespeople, they attempt the lead 1 to 2 times max. They don't hit all of those other times, but being able to leverage AI to be able to help with that. And then even to what you just now got in my head, and now where I'm starting to think is, okay, well, how am I going to leverage AI with these people as these people are getting smarter to use AI back to me?
Right.
So how do you start to craft the right value sequence to generate opportunities, but also to nurture and follow up with those opportunities?
In my opinion, it's the exact opposite of what most people are doing. And because most people are using AI to broadcast. And so if we talk about the ability to create content, like using Kling AI or Pika or Sora or these video creation models or HeyGen with the avatars or whatnot, we're seeing 100 or 1,000x explosion in content creation. And so the noise in the airwaves are getting so loud. And on top of that, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, they're pumping out a ton of new accounts with AI avatars that you can't even tell they're not real people anymore. Because why would they pay creators when they could just launch their own like perfect influencers, right? That are AI generated. And so, because it's so loud, I think the most horrible thing you could do is use AI to post about yourself. And so instead of having a database of 5,000 people and I'm putting them on these drip campaigns and spreading, like back in the day, like when you could manage 157 or so, relationships, you go deep with those. And that's not how many people are in your sphere, but how many spheres that you're in. And if you really lean into that and you become valuable as the person that stands out, not cluttering the airwaves with braggadocious things about their new listings and stuff, but providing deep value to you because I understand your hopes, wishes, and dreams, and I become an asset in managing your mortgage and managing your real estate with you. It's a different relationship. You're not replaceable by the next, flashy agent that's got some video on Instagram, right? And so the noisy world creates an opportunity for stillness. And a creative person like looks for those little seams and those opportunities. So like this morning, I put together a really comprehensive recruiting plan for somebody I'm looking to recruit to the team. I couldn't do that. I would have to pay a recruiter like $20,000 to produce this report.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And I did about 25 minutes or so, and it's wonderful. And I've got the great plan. I can now automate these touch points and then insert myself human in the loop and create that human touch. And I'm going to win the business. I guarantee it. So it's really going against the grain as what I really advise people to do, and think like the challenger sale model, think creatively. If you don't understand people, you don't understand business. It's not understanding technology, it's understanding people. And when I say do more of the things that matter, I deeply mean that. ideally, like, you should know everybody's birthdays and kids' names of their children and what's happening and when their mortgage is due. And these are things that matter to people. And if you show that you care, then people pay attention to you too. You fill other people's cup, they fill yours. And
that was really cool. What you showed me with Huzi and being able to just start talking into it. It's like, hey, update Eric's contact. I found out his birthday is XYZ. I just found out his favorite bourbon is X. He loves his dog, Jimmy. Update his contact record. It updates it in Huzi, but also ties into the CRM that you're utilizing as well. So it's getting updated as well, which I thought was like just absolutely gangster, because we have the best of intentions. We know we need a dialed in database, but being able to sit down, like I'm 1000% guilty. I remember starting 2012, 2013 in the one-on-one coaching world. And we went through a good run, good evolution, 14, 15, 16, time frame. I mean, we were arguably the top go-to coaching organization on the planet for residential real estate agents that wanted to get, 7 figures and escape production. And they wanted us as coaches to start updating the contact records and notes. Here's my contact record and notes right there.
Yep.
I was like, listen, guys, there's no way in hell that I'm going to sit down and spend an hour updating the CRM of notes of clients, period. Mm-hmm. What I love now, because I do, since pandemic and we've done everything. So I do all of my coaching calls via Zoom, but the Zoom AI does a call breakdown. Like my clients look forward to that breakdown. And what I love about it is I can stay present in the moment, and it's all going to be there, to-dos, homework. They get it. They know what they got to do. We'll review it on the next call. But how that has emerged and I know, like I said, agents have the best of intentions. The power of the CRM.
But do they? But do they? And what I mean by that, and I'm not doubting people's like hearts and minds. I'm not doubting that at all.
Yeah.
But I'm down there that the mediocrity is killing this business. Apathy is killing this industry. Right.
Is it because they're too busy on to the next thing? Yeah, are they too busy to consume? I don't know how much if you follow the PBD podcast, but I think it was maybe the show right after the election. They were still in DC. I think they did the show, and he showed an interesting graph on that podcast. He talked about people's attention, of how much waking time they spend on it said learning, but I'm going to say that's just on consumption, time of consumption, consuming something, consuming content. Could be empowering, or most likely disempowering, right? It's just noise. It's just junk. Goes from 1910 to 2024. In 1910, 10% of the waking hour was spent on learning, on consuming. So say you're awake for 12 hours, 10% of that time was consuming. 80% is where it's at. 80% of the waking time. So think if you're awake for 100 hours a week, that means you're spending 80 hours a week consuming. No wonder you ain't getting shit done. Mm-hmm. So for those that want to get away from that, but to your point, what you said earlier, there's so much noise, and you articulated this to me a couple of weeks ago, the direction it's going to go. But how do you hijack that? How do you hijack the noise? How do you, take some ownership in the mind? Because it's always been our concept is mind share before market share. How do you penetrate, hijack that to where you can still stay top of mind?
That goes back to our initial conversation. We were talking about the fitness things, the endurance things, or whatever. And, one of my favorite quotes is, between the bottom of the mountain and the top of the mountain, you find out why you climb. Right. And that to me is like, when you get up in the day, and when I said that earlier about real estate agents, that's not to take anything away. Like, I've been in a lot of different industries and have a really wonderful life to be able to see deeply. And I've met some of the most awesome people and professionals in the industry. That said, we all know what was the latest percentage, John, of people that did not sell a house last year? Like, or one or less.
It's all over the place, 60, 70%. Whatever that is.
72% or something. So that's what I'm talking about. This is a game where the rich are going to get richer. But for now, the playing field is leveled. and it's first mover opportunity for sure. But Zillow right now should be shaking in their boots because the internet is changing from the place of transactions where people go to look for listings. And every month, more and more people are not doing that. They're going to ChatGPT or Gemini or Huzi, and they're having conversations about listings, conversations about the market. And the internet is changing from a place of things and transactions to a place of conversations. So the stream that Zillow got upstream on, when a place of like connecting people go look for the listings and people are connecting people, that's not happening anymore. People are going online to find information about the listings, but then they're connecting to another person on social media. And so the stream that Zillow got up on is not the same thing anymore. This is a level playing field now. So if I were a residential real estate agent, I would be first focusing highly on my SEO for Bing as an example, because ChatGPT things on Bing. And like their operator model and their AI agent, they don't default and go to Google. They go to Bing to search for what to do. Right. So consumers are going to be using stuff like I would be focusing on all my SEO efforts on Bing. And then for anything Google related, I'd have a much easier chance of doing it on my YouTube channel. So I'd SEO my YouTube channel to handle my Gemini and my Google suite of tools for ranking. But these are the kinds of things that you can't really think unless you give yourself a moment to really pause and think about these things instead of like, oh, I just need to do my SEO. I need to pump out blog and do all these hashtags. That's the old game, man. And you can't win the new game with old rules. So
I love that.
Yeah.
So how do you get agents to stop that busyness and being able to step back for a second? I mean, it's definitely like what we were talking about. We all need help, right? Like, I feel that every time we get a good team member, we get that right? The talent, I can breathe for a second, right? Before then, maybe try to do a little bit less, but do it with more intent. So how do you step back from that? Let me go do that next thing and pause a little bit.
Well, for like, as a listing agent, I've been in the business 20 plus years and sold a lot of houses, and we all know what it's like to take the wrong listing at the wrong price and work with the wrong seller just because you knew you needed the listing. It's horrible, right? Same thing with a coach, or same thing with yourself even. So I'm in the business of sorting, not selling. That's from Jim Rohn, right? And so I don't think you convince somebody to do this. Either that they intrinsically want to, or they intrinsically have a desire to, and they just need the skill set to do so or not. So the first thing is would like people to be brutally honest with themselves. Do they have that sort of curiosity and resourcefulness inside of them? And if not, you can cultivate that. But I would start with that. If that seed's planted and you feel that growing inside of you, yeah, I do care about learning more, then as long as you can speak your native language, AI can help you now. Like computers finally speak our language. We don't have to speak its language anymore, right? And so, but having a skillful conversation is somewhat of a lost art. People are, texting short things and Googling short things. And so being able to articulate clearly and understanding clearly your problem and getting that into words is a lost art. So I would practice the skill of articulation, breaking down your task into bite-sized chunks. If you can do that, if you can tell yourself clearly what you need done, AI can get you probably 80% of the way today at most of these tasks. So you're talking about crunching the can and skill building. I would focus highly on that, like learning the skill of articulating what you need done, right? And people call that prompt engineering and that's not really, it doesn't need to be technical. It's just the basic skill of that. And, there are systems like Huzi that we help with that. And the system actually is more of a do as you want, not do as I ask sort of thing. And those are two different things. But actually, I need to bring up this study to you. And I find this fascinating because I was watching this as an observer. I was kind of seeing these groups of people like use AI, and you could see some like really take off and their productivity and efficiency and the quality of their work like was going like this. And I saw others that I felt like they were just stagnant, or they're kind of trying too many things, or their efficiency and productivity is going down. Now there's studies that's showing this to be true. So you know how when you sit in front of ChatGPT and you start talking back and forth, and it's like a confirmation bias thing. It's like, oh, good idea, John. Yes, we should do this. Blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
or you're just making a mistake and you're like, hey, what about this? You're like, oh, I'm so sorry. You are right. I'll do it this way. So it's a confirmation bias thing. So what they're finding now in studies is that top quartile, or those top professionals or experts, and whatever their field is and working with AI, they are seeing a 35 to a 60% increase in productivity and efficiency. But below that, they're seeing between like a 12, and I'm getting these numbers slightly, don't quote me on the numbers, but these are rate ratios. But they're actually seeing a decrease from like 12 to 30% in productivity and efficiency because AI is kind of leading them down the path and they're just kind of following it. right?
Mm.
And so they're not getting more efficient or more productive because they don't have the wisdom or the expertise to know when to call bullshit, or know when to direct it and be like, hey, let's do a next iteration and go a little deeper, or we'll go this way, right? So we're seeing this gap that's happening. And I want people to pay really close attention to that when you cannot sit down and give a simple prompt and then take what the machine tells you, take it as gospel and run.
Yeah. So how do you kind of fact check yourself with that? Like what are some of the things and where, and is this something that Huzi has as an ability to learn, like you said, how to articulate what it is that you want, from a training perspective? Does Huzi have that in the training library that starts to really break that down and develop that skill set? Because that's where I'm kind of going, is like, okay, us as leaders, what are the skills that we have to have and we have to master? We know, selling, we know persuasion, we know, leadership, conflict resolution, marketing, there's certain skills that we have to have and develop. Where do we go to learn to be able to articulate what it is that we want condensed down and be able to be like, nah, that's bullshit. I sniff that a little bit. And how do we develop and learn that skill?
So Danielle does a great job on her, Danielle works here at Huzi, and in a class, she brought up a good point. She goes, if you go to ChatGPT and you say the cow jumps over the, ChatGPT will say moon, right? Because it's grounded in patterns, not fact. But if you go to an AI that maybe it's about cattle ranching or farming, and you say the cow jumped over, it might say fence or cattle guard or puddle or something like that, right? Because it's more grounded in what the task is actually doing. And so recognizing what AI is and isn't is the first really skill. It means people need to really understand what it is and what it isn't. It's a pattern recognition machine to grossly underestimate the most amazing technology advance we've ever done, probably since splitting the atom. But that said, right, like one of the first features we built inside of Huzi was something I called Book Boost. And that was the ability for, at the click of a button, say, hey, I want to click the Challenger sale. I want to click Good to Great or whatever. Yeah. And because I wanted wisdom in it, not just the training data and some prompting in it. And so we wanted human wisdom into it. So it's just like handing your assistant this book and say, hey, we want to do this marketing now, but we do it in the strategy and technique of the book. Just click a button. That's the sort of thing that I think you should look for, systems that understand how to make it frictionless, so you can quickly get to the better idea rather than you have to think about it and go. You can inject a freaking book, right?
It's pretty damn cool. Like when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, yeah.
We're getting to it, man. We're getting to it.
Because if there's certain books that become resource manuals, right? That should be always in proximity. Certain ones that you have that are always go to, and being able to then interject that in the concepts of the book into what it is you're trying to accomplish or thinking or do, to me is that's cool. That's really cool.
I can't wait to show you the new, I call it a secret project we're going to show tomorrow a little bit, called Satori. And Satori is a Japanese word that essentially means like awakening or enlightenment, or moment of clarity, right? So I'm calling the thing Satori. So we imagine like an AI powered mind map board. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and for instance, let's say I'm a real estate agent and I want to earn the business of a builder. Okay. So I'll drag and drop an AI chat window on this board, picture it like a map board. Okay. And then maybe I grab the website for the builder and just literally drag and drop onto this board. And then let's say I drag and drop the Challenger sale book because I love the way that book thinks. And then let's say I drag and drop one of your videos that you've done on, prospecting new construction, if you have one of those, right? And I literally drag and drop your YouTube video. I literally just connect the dot to my little AI assistant now. And now I have got your wisdom, all the information about this builder, and I've got it all right in context. It's able to I instantly trained this AI with the exact content and expertise I need to perform that exact thing that I do. Right. And so we're getting ready to launch that. And so I love people when they feel limitless. Empowered people do good things. People that are in a state of flight or fight, typically react accordingly. But powerful people that are good-hearted do great things in this world. So AI is getting really, really close to limitless in that way. So the bottleneck you're talking about, the constraint is in the person.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do, I think, is in the interface problem that we have with AI models now, that it's like chat, prompt response, or prompt to video, prompt to text, right? So this new way of this flexible interface, man, I can put two side by side and I can compare and contrast and debate two different deals. I got offer A on this house, offer B on this house. Let's look at them both side by side. right? And you have your two AIs working back and forth. You've got two business opportunities side by side. You've got like three ways. It's a really flexible, just right brain sort of approach to things. So this linear back and forth, and we're calling that Satori, and we're getting ready to launch that this week.
Oh, that's so cool. I can't wait to mess with that for sure. No, I love that. So we talk about, like you said, just the limitless side of things, and feels like we're the only constraint is just the constraint to our creativity and resourcefulness. And really, I think it's the, I was just thumbing through a bunch of notes this morning because I had got to meet with Matt and DJ's team, and they were dealing with some, challenging on self-worth, right? My worth, my commission, some self-worth things. And so I was just going through a bunch of notes, and one of my all-time favorites and probably definitely top 5, maybe top 3 book recommendations is Outwitting the Devil with Napoleon Hill, to where people get caught in a state of drift, and there's a lot of people, and I think even then in that manuscript in the book, I think he says 97%. I'd say probably 99% of people are in a state of drift. And what he talks about, how the only way to get out of that state of drift is through accurate thought. And in the laws of success, if you go through the laws of success, he says the same thing. The most important law of success is the law of accurate thought. And I think being able to tap into that as what it is that you're trying to accomplish and what you're wanting to do, what is truth, what is accurate. I could see how beneficial that would be in trying to figure out what it is that you're wanting to ultimately accomplish.
You asked earlier about the idea of how to create space and how to get to the truth. We're talking about truth now and all that. So, these aren't philosophy things I'm talking about. Like, for instance, I had 2 different social media accounts. I had about 500,000 followers on the 2 of them. And a year ago, I just canceled them because it was noisy, right? And I got caught up in everything that was going on with COVID and what was happening with the riots and lockdowns and what's happening, across the world, and technology, and just gets louder and louder and louder. And I realized I had no idea what the truth was anymore, because I was listening, and I wasn't like listening to external words. I needed to go inward more. So I literally said, okay, fine, let me walk the walk. I'm talking about finding peace and, really understanding like the truth from the perception of algorithms and force-fed ideologies that just come at you 3,000 to 5,000 times a day. I just walk the walk and say, fine, I'll just cancel these 2 accounts. And it was the best thing I ever did. And people think I'm crazy because it's really hard to build up a following and whatnot. It's the best thing I ever did. And because I got to what actually matters. And that today, instead of a broad knowledge base, anybody now, because of AI, can have a broad knowledge base. The winners will have a really deep knowledge base in something that's very special or meaningful to them, and people will gravitate towards that.
Yeah.
And so we've always said riches are in the niches. Like, that's always been kind of the case. I'm talking like 100x the power of that today. And the power of the deep knowledge in something will just cut through the noise in some way.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. The broad range is super important, I think, to grow and scale any type of organization, to have a general understanding across the board, but you need to be able to dig your root into something. And, I just have seen it, especially you get into larger organizations, still staying in the real estate space. You bring key people in, they always lean in one way or the other. And in most, agents, especially that are doing bigger deals, there's very few that have leaned more towards the operational and I's dotted T's crossed side of things. Most of them lean towards the sales and marketing aspect side of things. And so being able to know your strengths, but more importantly, know your weaknesses. And I think that's leveraging tools and technology like Huzi to be able to be, to complement where you're not strong at.
I'll give you an example. My daughter, she's a 3rd year in college, and she was studying macroeconomics and was having a hard time watching this video and doing homework, had some questions and whatnot. So I said, hey, check this out, and open Satori. I drag and drop the video, on the board. I drag and drop a block that we call a persona block. And so I just had it become a macroeconomics PhD level instructor. And now she's got a PhD level instructor like at her fingertips that knows everything about the video that she's watching and can help like sort through and define questions and find out when in the video they were talking about certain things. And like, just so your ability to get to the truth is there now. Like these aren't things I could talk about a year ago or even 6 months ago, because models have gotten that much better very quickly. A lot of this was like you could get to it, but it did take some prompting or whatnot. Now I'm telling, like these are the things that we used to hope to be true to get to the truth is actually here now. So
yeah, it is. It is really, really wild, and it's crazy to see where it's going. And I know there's some things at play. Elon's bid and kind of where the direction of ChatGPT, and who owns 49% of that company. And it's interesting to see kind of the direction of how things will start to play out the rest of this year and into next year.
The best thing that ever happened to the AI market was when DeepSeek happened, a couple of weeks ago, and they dropped the Chinese model, and there was all this uproar. But what happened was they created an open source model that was as powerful as the thing that people are paying hundreds of dollars a month for, right? And so again, it just kind of democratized access. And I'm a big fan of democratizing access to powerful technology or tools or weapons or whatever, right? Yeah. You centralized powerful anything has never proven in history to be a good thing for people in masses. So democratizing access to things like this are really important to me. If you want access to it, you should have access to it, in my opinion. Education, healthcare, water, good housing. Like these are things that we should all have access to, AI being one of them. And so when these models came onto the scene just this last couple of weeks, and then Alibaba, the founder of Alibaba, Jack Ma, dropped one called Quen, the next day later, it's even more powerful. It's nearly free. This really changed the game to our OpenAI. The behemoths like Microsoft and OpenAI and Grok or whatnot lost a lot of their power because I can run that model now on my personal computer here at home and not have to pay them anything.
Yeah.
And so it became more about the portals to those things, like interfaces like Huzi that understands the user in a way that gives access to the model in a way that makes sense to them. Well, they don't have to be the expert in technology. Yeah.
I love it. Let's kind of wrap up here kind of with, what is Huzi, and really kind of, the direction and how we believe me as well. Right. Really ensuring that there's a component, like you said earlier, of the wisdom being able to apply to where folks can tap into it. And I default back to, Leanne is like a lot of people out there, right? Like we try to know we should be on a schedule. We know we should be doing that. Very few of us can find and stick to a schedule. Most people just kind of like a leaf being blown, and we do catch a moment. I got to use it when I can use it. And dang, I can't get a hold of my coach. I'm just not during our given coaching time. Let me tap into that wisdom. So kind of paint the picture of kind of where Huzi's at and where it's going, and really incorporating a lot of wisdom into the tool that you guys have designed and built.
Yeah. Well, leaders like yourself, like lean in times like this, and these are unprecedented times, and leaders in unprecedented times don't pretend to have all the best answers. They ask the best questions. And they lead their people through a way of discovery, like you're doing. And so, first of all, like you've said, John, I've heard you say a few times that people don't buy coaching; they buy the coach. Mm-hmm. Right? Is that fair? Does that represent you're saying? Well, not right. So I believe that to be entirely true as well. And so we're injecting like you're being able to have a guy like you with the wisdom and the idea, but then give that knowledge base into an AI model that it gives your members and the people that need your wisdom more frictionless access to it, so they can get at it, get it executed, because they don't have more time in the day just because they have your knowledge. They got to get more time in the day. Mm-hmm. So the system like that with Huzi, connects the things that you're instructing and people need to get done to reach their goals in a way that they can actually implement those and deploy those today, instead of like putting on the to-do list and hoping I'd make time for it next Saturday, but then your hair gets on fire and it doesn't happen.
No.
So I really applaud you for like taking charge of your community and like leaning in something like this and giving them access to things that hopefully really transform the way they do business and the way they do the more things that matter. So that is the thing. Like it's that particular set of skills, looking for somebody that knows what to do, when to do it, that you need access to it, and then using AI to do that, not using ChatGPT or just Huzi just because it's smart, but because you've got the leadership from the person that's walked before you that knows how to do the thing, and then you can help implement it by using AI. That's the key thing, man. So I applaud you for leading in as a leader of your community.
Appreciate that. And, we're putting...
And Joe too, by the way.
And Joel as well. Yes. And so being able to have the ability to get in there and work through, things that we know to be foundational, but extremely important to be able to build on a foundation, to be able to grow. So I'm really excited about it. And I think it's
Can we talk about the thing? Can we say that
absolutely, 100%.
All right. So like then we should just say, the Huzi Plus Kitchens coaching, is a real thing, and it's getting ready to launch, and you're going to have a wait list, and you're going to do your whole thing. So I don't want to spoil your
you're
thing,
good. Let's throw it out there.
Okay. So you're going to have your wait list, and you're going to want to give, people access to, let's say you've got 10 really killer thoughts that people need to, to hire a VA or to scale at certain levels, the thing that you are really passionate about helping people with. Me as your student, man, if I could get access to that 24/7 and help me work through the things, and then quickly help me like write that copy or write that job description or create that SOP or plan the commission structure to hire the next assistant or whatever it is based on the way that you guys teach. And I can do that at 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning. I'm drinking my coffee. And now I go from an idea of like being overwhelmed and, oh my God, and then 20 minutes later, you have a full plan and it's executed based on that is the future. And when I say future, I mean today, right? Like that is the thing I've been so excited about doing. Now it's uncomfortable, John. Like, let's be honest. Like, it's uncomfortable, like rethink what my value is, like the things I should be doing each day. That's an uncomfortable thing. I don't think that should go unsaid. Like when you think like, oh, I don't have to do this anymore. My AI can just do this for me. Now, what am I supposed to be doing? What's my value?
Yeah.
That's where that piece, like that's where that confidence and like, what is my value? And if you can't clearly get to that, then you are at risk. Like you just are. Right. But if you've put in the work, like you know that these neighborhoods more than anybody else, this new construction style better, this school district better than anybody else, you're gonna be fine. Mm-hmm. But if I sense cracks in your armor here because you just haven't done the work, that's on you. Mm-hmm. Right. So it's people that are willing to do the work that can stand out and rise above, because at the end of the day, Huzi doesn't not here to make the life of the real estate agent easier. I'm here to improve the home buying and selling experience. Like I'm passionate about home buying and selling. Like what a beautiful thing it is for people to have affordable housing that's safe and they're proud of to live in. Like that's what like solid communities and healthy communities are built on. So that's what we wake up each morning to do, is like really focus on how do we do that. And instead of going around the industry, like most tech companies, we're serving the people that want to do that on the street level, right? That have that human connection. So at the end of the day, if we lose track of that, then you're going to lose track of everything. Right. So that consistent, transparent, efficient experience that we're trying to deliver to the consumer, those that care deeply about that will use a program like Huzi Plus Kitchens coaching and kill it. Yeah. And those that don't may not. Right.
Nope. But that's on them, right? I mean, I think it's the whole thing, and it's one of my favorite signs, and it was above my son's karate studio, and it was above the door, and it says, the teacher can open the door, but the student must walk through. And I really think that from a coaching perspective, because, as coaches are not the heroes. Coaches are just there to open the door so that the student can walk through. They're the hero. And I think that's just super important for me, but I know it's right. And being able to, allow them to be the best versions of themselves for those that want to put the work in. There's certain people that just don't, and that's
okay. Challenge the damn status quo. Like let's just get at it here, right? When I remember my very first year, I quit a really good paying job to start in real estate, and there was the guy in my office that had that perfect silver hair, and he had the cardigan vest, and he'd been around a long time. His name was Bob Smith. Just that suave thing, and so I looked up to him. I was 27 at the time I got in real estate, and 50 now, right? So I looked up to Bob. I go, Bob, man, like, what can I do my first year? Like, what do you expect? And he did the like gentle thing, put his hand on my shoulder. He's like, Eric, man, you really got it. I can tell you got that fire. I can see you doing at least like 6 or 7 deals this year. You're going to kill it, because the average right was around 6 or 7 at the time. And so he was suggesting that even as a first year agent, I could at least reach. I went back to my desk, man. I did the math. I'm like, I can't make a living on 6 or 7 deals, right? And so
that ain't going to work.
The first 12 months, I did like 63 deals because I just challenged the status quo. I didn't like look to see what everybody else was doing. If what everybody else was doing was producing an average of 6 or 7 like deals, and
I can't do that.
Why the fuck would I do that? Right?
I can't do that.
Yeah. And so having that sort of challenger, nobody cares more about your business or your life, your finances, your health than you do. So why would you be at the mercy of all these fucking rules that are out there?
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Unfortunately, I had a house fire, on Friday, and my house caught on fire. Literally, I was on a meeting, Zoom call with Danielle, and I thought I was hearing like squirrels or birds had got in my, my attic or something like that. I was having a Zoom call, and it was after a little while. I was like, oh man, I gotta go. Like, Danielle, I gotta go see what's in my walls, and it was fire. John, my wood stove had self-combusted up the chimney and caught, and there was flame inside my wall. And so we're gonna be out of our house for probably a month or two. I'm in an Airbnb right now. Okay. And I rush downstairs and I see flames shooting out of my wall, and this whole house is full of smoke and stuff. And so I'm calling 911, and she's like, sir, you got to get out of your house. And instantly, and I'm grabbing my hose because I got to shoot this fire, because I know enough that houses burn down because fire goes up the walls, gets in the attic, and houses burn from the top down. Right. Yeah. That's exactly what was happening. And so their rules were in place so they don't get sued, because there are stupid people that would do dumb things. Right. But I'm there to save my house, right? I'm not there to abide by their fucking rules. And so if I would have let my house burn for 12 more minutes before the fire department even got there, they were amazing, by the way.
It was gone. Yeah, it'd have been gone.
Right? But I was able to contain the fire. Did I inhale some smoke? Yes. And I had to take some tea, and my lungs are better today. But that to me was worth it, right? Because that's where my fucking kids sleep. Okay. So the idea that you could just like be at the mercy and like, dude, that's not the way the world works. Like, this is like Grand Theft Auto more than it is like real life.
Take action.
Right. Yeah. So it's just really important that there's that sort of autonomy and that self-esteem, to where if you're there for something bigger than yourself, you're going to make the right choices more than not.
I love that. 100%. Well, I'm glad you're safe. And, that's wild. That's absolutely scary, to be honest. So
it was horrible. It was a terrible experience. And, we shed tears, and, you have adrenaline dump, and yes, all of that thing is true, but none of that matters. That was all yesterday, and I don't let yesterday touch me. Right. And so like, let's move forward. We'll make something beautiful out of this. But if I would have listened, to what the norms were, it would have been a much more horrible situation.
Uh-huh. You just had to watch it burn.
To what the norms are in their business, they're going to have a horrible year.
That's so true. And you would have been pissed because they didn't get there in time. And that's the whole realization, ain't nobody coming to save you. You got to be able to take action and be able to move forward yourself.
And with that, for the analogy, I couldn't have done it by myself. I needed a hose. I needed water. I needed those resources. Same thing in business. Agents can't do it themselves. They need support. They need leverage. They need systems. They need technology to do it. There's just all these parallels. When we look for lessons, they're all around, right? Yeah. And that is the thing. It's just doing it with a community that cares, that inspires you to be better than you are now, having the tools and access to resources, and then some self-autonomy and some self-esteem, and go after it. Yeah. That's the recipe, really.
I love it. Brother, I appreciate you jumping in here. This was a fantastic conversation, and really embodying, what the whole Expert Mentor series is about, has been about, will continue to be about. And it's just really, giving back into just one of the best communities in all of real estate, which is the Honey Badger Nation. Brother, I appreciate you. You guys, we are getting ready to launch Huzi Plus Coach. So waiting list, coachkitchens.ai. Get on the waiting list. I promise you it's well worth it. It is the tool for you in your career to be able to, scale collapse time and really continue to push and be of more service and of more value.
I love that, buddy. Thank you for having
me.
Brother.
Appreciate you. We'll see you guys. See ya. That's a wrap for today. I hope you got something valuable from this episode. If you did, hit follow and visit johnkitchens.coach for more ways we can work together. See you on the next episode.